We're on live. So good morning everybody, welcome to Leaders Live. I'm Andrew Jenkins and this is a short countdown timer to help with the various feeds to catch up and settle down. This morning we tried a new thing. We tried a Discord server for Backstage Rowdies, which didn't quite go to plan actually, but all these things are worthwhile trying. We'll be hanging out today with the very passionate and articulate Matt Drew, CEO of J M Electrobikes Ltd. Give us a quick wave and a quick hello, Matt.
Good morning.
Hey, hello. Great. Hope our audio's coming through too. And we've got the lovely Birdine, of course. So quick hello to us, Birdine.
Good morning.
Good morning. Hope you can
Today I look like a school teacher.
Yeah, we'll come on to our new glasses later, and fantastic. So our theme today is Game Changer Alert, folks. Game Changer Alert, electric motorbikes ride into town. How about that? Ooh, I think that deserves that. Ooh, let's see if we'll find that then. Ooh. So this is my 66th, this is our 66th show, and music by my Uncle Peter. Fantastic. So really feeling excited about our show today. Wow. So please let us know if our audio is coming through okay. It looks like we've got people already. Paul's saying he can't hear for whatever reason. Oh, he's got it now. Fine, thank you. Lovely. This is our quick trailer. Lovely, love that trailer. So we're sponsored by Your DMS. Quick shout out for Your DMS. We'll be shouting them out a little bit later as well. So thanks very much for that, and welcome everybody. Oi people, it's the Leaders Live showtime, folks. It's just after 8:45 a.m. here in the UK, and so we are live with Leaders Live. We're spreading the love, folks, spreading the love. Yabba dabba doo. And if you're new to Leaders Live and you don't know me, as I said, I'm Andrew Jenkins, and we're streaming out on LinkedIn this morning, on LinkedIn company pages and YouTube, Facebook pages, profiles and Facebook groups and Twitter and Twitch and all that kind of stuff. And I'm also streaming out on my own website, leaderslive.tv, so you can watch us there as well. And we're also streaming out on Your DMS's company page as well. So there we go. Wow, don't you just love all the tech? And you can catch us on live or on the replay. So, you know, if you don't catch us live, fear not, my friends, we've got you covered on podcasts as well. So there you go. And if you like what you see, well, you want to say thank you for all the effort that we put into these free shows, folks, you can buy me a coffee too, folks. And that's buymeacoffee.com /Leaders Live. The link will be in the chat shortly. So it's an awesome app and it's fun to use. So and you get a shout out on the shows automatically. How about that when you buy me a coffee? So interactive show, folks. So please join in, ask us questions, network with the live community, and even a little friendly banter for you regulars. Lead the way, show how we roll, folks. And smash those likes too, and those thumbs up as well. Really appreciate that. That keeps us motivated as well. Whoop, whoop. And please subscribe to our Leaders Live YouTube community as well for updates. And the link will also be in the chat. So phew, put it all together. What do you got? Bibbity, bibbity, bobbity, poo. I love that expression. So let's bring up this week's Leaders Live guest with no further ado. As I mentioned earlier, we're hanging out with the amazing Matt Drew. Now, I met Matt at a morning. I met you at a show, didn't I, in Swindon, quite by accident, and I was with Jack Wright, our sponsor, actually, and we had a good old chat, didn't we, about all things electric bikes and stuff, Matt?
Yes, no, it was good. Yeah, we just kind of bumped into Jack. Went into the main hall of this expo, just so happened we sat next to each other, and he actually saw me ride in to the car park on one of my bikes.
Yeah,
which caught his attention, I think. So yeah, and then just off the back of chatting to him, obviously bumped into yourself. So yeah, looking forward to this session. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you for having me. How very polite. I love that. I'm just trying to get the feed up as well while we're talking, so just bear with me while I grab that. So tell us a little bit more about what's happening today. Where are you taking us? Give us a bit of a spark and a buzz of where we're going. Do you see what I just did there, by the way?
Sort of delving into the world of electric vehicles, really.
Wow.
Obviously, we take for granted, I think, a little bit now the electric car market, because it's really boomed. There's lots of mainstream manufacturers jumping on board, and it's becoming more of the norm than anything else. Especially now we're hurtling towards this 2030 and 2035 cut-off date for the sale of new ICE vehicles. So nice round of applause.
Brilliant. And thank you very much for Laurie Hells to have bought me my coffee online. I think that's about the third one online. No, fourth one, actually. So thank you, Laurie. Brilliant. Hey, fantastic. I think that might deserve even a round of applause. Let's just see if I can find a round of applause for us. Here we go. How about this? Hey, there we are. Fantastic. Thank you, Laurie. Brilliant. Okay, so Matt, you've just given us a very quick picture of where we're going. That's brilliant. So that's where we're heading, and that's... So let's kick us off, Matt. You have a question for the audience. Let's kick us off with the first question for you. So that just gets all the interaction going. So give us your first question.
Yeah. So no, it'd be really good to hear everyone's opinion on this. So drop some comments. So essentially, I just want to ask, what are you excited about, and or what reservations do you have about going electric?
Going electric. Okay, so and actually, just as a little bit more on. Actually, have I got that question wrong? So the question again was, just say the question again for us, because I've got a different question.
Oh, sorry, Andrew.
Yeah, no problem.
I switched around a little bit.
Yeah,
I thought this one was slightly more relevant.
It's fine. It's in the chat.
It's in the chat. Fantastic.
Yeah,
okay.
beautiful.
So what are you excited about? What are your reservations do you have about going electric, folks? Sustainable, cheap fuel, reduced noise, pollution, range anxiety, etc., etc. So there's a little bit of delay in the feed. So I just want to say good morning to Mateus. Good morning to Paul. Good morning to Joe. Good morning to Laurie. Thank you for the coffee. Good morning, Jonas. And good morning, David Fentoni, who was in the room last week, and Elaine Godley, who was with us a couple of weeks back, or 3 weeks back now, from the Algarve. Love the DMS jingle tune, she says. Brilliant. So great to see you. Oh, and great to see Graham Rose again. Graham's been recovering from an illness over the summer, so fantastic to see you, Graham. And if I've got the same Graham Rose, that looks like a slightly different spelling, but I might be wrong there. So good morning. We've got some comments as well. I'll come on to those in a moment. So just before we go on to those, quick shout out for our wonderful moderator. Here we go. So during the countdown, briefly introduce our fantastic moderator, Birdie Hugo. It's a chance for you to say a bit more with your brand new glasses on, swanky glasses.
Yes, it's you call it age, so that's why I got these.
Not
I
quite,
can't see
Birdie.
very far anymore. And then it's multifocal as well. And I was always, old people get multifocal. I don't need those. Well, I've got them now. So nevertheless, but today I hope that Matt gives me all of the benefits so that I can get my father to buy me a bike.
To buy not just any old bike, but an electric bike, right? So here we go. So that's
Yes.
That's the reservation you've got. Your dad wants you to have a roof over your head, doesn't he?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I just need to put a little roof over with a little LED light, and he'll be fine.
I'm sure you can buy a motorbike with a roof to it. So there are those sort of weird bikes, aren't there, that have those kind of built-in frames, Matt, aren't there?
There are, yeah. There's even three-wheeler versions of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So you can have full roof. They even have like canvas side doors as well, if you want to put those sorts of things on it. But nothing electric as yet.
No,
who knows? Maybe we could manufacture something for you.
Yeah, or the mobility scooter, I suppose, which is like quick to the slow, isn't it? Slightly different. And so we're loving the glasses. And by the way, old is a relative term. Birdine is still in her mid-20s, so actually your eyesight doesn't start to fail until you're about 45 or so. So you've got a long way really to go. Yeah. Okay, so
Thanks, Andrew.
Yeah, exactly. So you're all fine and dandy. So tell us what's going on in the chat, Birdine, so that we can get going.
Just good morning to Guy. Guy's also
Good
in
morning.
the room today. Then after the question, Graham said his reservations are battery life and replacement cost.
Okay, and
Mateus said it can be interesting to see the introduction of driverless cars.
Oh, yeah. I wonder how far they are. We'll find out a bit. Driverless cars. We'll come back to that, Matt. Driverless. I'll just write that down. Driverless cars. Right. Okay. Clearly not driverless motorbikes, though, hey? So there we go. Okay.
No.
Right. Okay.
Joe Cooper said, for me, a couple of things really: energy crisis and traffic jams and power loss.
Okay, yeah. So what if you're stuck in a traffic jam? Yeah. Okay, yeah. And loss of power. The battery just completely runs out. I guess we'll come back onto those in a minute. And yeah, what else?
Simon Brooks said, losing the sound of the engine.
Yeah, a lot of people have said that, missing the sound of that massive motorbike sound, that lovely grrr sound, Matt. What say you to the comments so far, Matt? What are you thinking so far?
Yeah, interesting. Oh, I'm just on the comment there that missing the sounds. I mean, I'm a petrol head, have been since I was a young boy, so I completely get that. Absolutely, I get that.
Yeah.
But there's lots of different perspectives that you can take with motorbikes and their use case. Obviously, there's in terms of travel, we are a small percentage, us petrol heads, compared to all of the other people who use motorbikes and cars and all that sort of thing, just because they want to go from one point to another point.
Yeah.
There's obviously the few of us that still enjoy that roar of an engine and all of the visceral experience that you get from that. But I mean, still have a go on one. I mean, I'm a complete convert. I don't ride a petrol bike at all anymore because the experience that you get riding the electric stuff is so far in advance of what petrol can do, with the amount of torque that you get and the instant power and the smoothness of it. And even for me, going out and enjoying a ride on a weekend, I really enjoy just soaking myself in the environment and not having the distraction of the noise and that side of things. So it's worth trying. Even if you're a full-blown petrol head like I used to be, it's still worth trying.
And you're a full convert, so there you go. And
Exactly.
you know what, Matt? I tried. I know this isn't the same thing at all, but I tried an electric bike the other day, thinking, now, what's the big deal about? It was a total game changer with electric. I mean, it is so powerful and so quick, and electric bike's going to be even better, folks, for the acceleration. So we'll come on to that as well a little bit later. What else, Berdin? What else is going on?
Laurie said a few reservations. What is the story with the batteries? I haven't done the research, so this might not be true, but I've read that manufacturing and disposing of the batteries is really bad for the environment. Wipes out the gains of electric.
Oh,
so Matt, there's a question for you.
Yeah, what say you, Matt?
Yeah, so I mean, there's more carbon footprint essentially for the manufacturing process when it comes to a lithium-powered battery vehicle versus an internal combustion engine vehicle. Generally, you can kind of offset that over the time. It only takes a couple of years for that carbon footprint to be eroded when you're doing like a like-for-like comparison. Internal combustion engines obviously produce a lot of emissions, but once the battery is produced, it doesn't create any more emissions after that until the point where it's either recycled or repurposed. And that's probably the most important point there is you don't necessarily recycle lithium batteries. You tend to repurpose them for things like large energy storage facilities, people who are installing solar power to their homes. They have a battery system. Most of those batteries aren't brand new. They're repurposed from other vehicles. And there is a process to be able to recycle. There's a few companies now that are doing it a lot more. But like you say, it is difficult, and there is an added carbon footprint to the fact that you're having to process that battery again, essentially. But one of the biggest benefits of that is the fact that the precious metals in it, so the lithium and the cobalt, which is the most expensive part of that battery, or the most precious part of the battery, those parts can be taken from an old cell and completely reused in a new battery cell, because it's the precious metals don't actually degrade.
Okay.
It's the section within sort of essentially the electrolyte, and there's like a permeable section between the anode and cathode, which is what actually degrades. It's not the precious metals. But the trouble is, it is difficult to get it out because essentially within the battery cell, the lithium is is stacked in between graphite. So you have like layers of graphene with lithium in between it. And that's the difficult part, is actually processing it to get the lithium back out. Hence why people tend to repurpose these batteries rather than recycle.
Gotcha. Okay, but but we'll get better at that, do you think, as time goes on, in the future?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, we know technology moves on extremely quickly, and we won't be using these style batteries for a huge amount of time. Everything's a stepping stone. Technology has to progress, and we'll never get to the point where these batteries are as close to perfect as we can get them without having to go through these stepping stones first.
Yeah, so there's a future ahead, which we'll come on to a little bit later. We'll start teasing out the future, but for now, that's where we are. So good question, Laurie. Thank you. And just out of interest, how long do these batteries last for? In terms of years or miles, or how would you?
Yeah, well, and this is a funny thing. It's another kind of misconception with these batteries is generally lithium-ion batteries, if treated well, will go down. So what manufacturers tend to say is they'll down to 80% of the battery's original capacity will take between 500 and 2,000 charge cycles, depending on how that battery's been used. If you treat them well and you get 2,000 charge cycles out of it, some of these bikes will do essentially over 200,000 miles of riding.
Wow.
Before you're down to that 80% of its original capacity.
Down to its 80%, right.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, and if you're doing 200,000 miles on a motorbike, then hats off to you. You do bloody well.
Yeah, you're gonna have a very sore bottom after that, I would imagine.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Brilliant. Okay, so there's some misconceptions there as well. Right. Okay. Carry on for us, Berdine.
David Fenton said the reservations are battery charging and practical application.
Yeah. No, battery charging is you get the range anxiety because of the fact that you most of the time you're spending multiple hours to recharge these batteries. For a lot of the bikes that we sell, they mainly go into either commuter markets or fleet markets where commuters will go to and from work. They're generally less than 20-mile commutes, which is well within the range of these bikes. And you just charge it up overnight, fresh, full tank for the morning.
Hey,
so from that perspective, it's not a huge deal.
And they can be charged. They don't need a particular charger either, Matt. Is that right? They can just be charged on a 13-amp fuse. Is that right?
Exactly. Yeah, 3-pin plug. A number of our bikes have removable batteries as well. So if you live in a flat or terraced house and you don't have easy access to a plug, you can pull the battery out, take it inside with you, and charge up.
There you go.
So there's solutions, and there's you can't count how many 3-pin plugs there are around. Your charging opportunities are huge.
Yeah.
You can charge at work. You can go to your friend's house and charge up while you're having a coffee.
Yeah, charge at work, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and we've even done trips out on these bikes where we've stopped at a pub for lunch.
Yeah.
And quite happily let you plug in while you're sat there for an hour and a half having your lunch and a coffee and off you go.
Or McDonald's or a coffee shop or wherever, as long as there's a plug available, you can charge, right?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah,
brilliant.
And then some of the higher end bikes do have much faster chargers as well. So
okay. And what kind of range have you got to avoid that kind of anxiety? They're about 70 odd miles or something, are they, for the smallest batteries?
Yeah, the smaller bikes, we do like 50cc equivalent mopeds and 125cc equivalent more motorbike style or scooter style. They generally have anywhere between 40 miles to 60 miles of range.
Yeah.
Specifically designed for that commuter market.
Town commute.
Exactly. Yeah. And then we've got the more higher end bikes, which some of which can achieve over 200 miles of range.
Wow, 200 miles of range, folks. And do you need to stop periodically because the battery gets warm, or is it just keep on going? And
no, generally, heat management is fine. They're all air cooled. There's plenty of access for the wind running past you to take that heat away. So.
Brilliant. Of course. Right. Yeah, of course. Yeah, gotcha. Yes, of course, because you're exposed, the electric motor's all exposed, so it cools as it's going. Got it. Yeah. Yeah. And in winter, that's going to be even more better, I imagine, than the summer. I don't know. Or is it better in the summer than the winter?
You tend to get better range in the summer.
Yeah.
The lithium batteries are affected by temperature. So, between summer and winter, you'll probably see a 10% drop in range during the winter. But again, as long as you understand that, and we always make sure that customers who are buying bikes from us completely understand the capabilities I ride all of these bikes. I tend to ride one for a week and then switch and then ride another one for a week, because I need to understand exactly what these bikes are capable of to be able to express that to a customer. So exactly, yeah.
So we'll see you on different bikes at different times then, Matt. From
That's it, yeah.
scooters to fantastic motorbikes. So yeah, okay. Thanks, Matt. So what else is going on, Berdin?
Polstead said, I recently changed my car to a plug-in hybrid with increased electricity costs. I'm not sure it was the right move, although BAK taxes are much lower.
Yeah. Any thoughts on that, Matt?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, cost of living, energy prices, everything is going up. Generally, our motorbikes cost 1 to 2p per mile for electricity, whereas a comparative. I mean, if you're looking at a car, because we have a lot of people who are getting rid of their second cars to jump on these bikes to really sort of make the best use of the saving. General internal combustion engine cars are about 20p per mile.
Yeah.
Whereas these, 1 to 2p, and even if those electricity prices double or even triple, you're going from 1p to 2p to 3p. It's still
worth
huge savings. Huge savings.
Yeah, interesting. Good to hear that. Actually, really good to hear that. Okay, what else is going on, Berdin? And then we'll start to march on.
We've got Tilly Davies in the room, so welcome, Tilly.
Yeah.
Thanks
Tilly's
for
another
joining.
one of our guests in Leaders Live, so yeah, lovely.
Yes, Maria also just raised her concern about, she's heard that the disposal of car batteries are just as bad for the environment as using fuel. How true is this? I think you touched on that earlier, Matt. Yeah. Then Elaine said, I feel it's all big con to gain control of us, limits distance traveled and expensive.
Okay, so I'm just wondering. Just wondering whether that, the whole big control.
It came through before. Yeah, it came before we started talking about the rest of the benefits to this. Jonah said, now that Mercedes, among others, have shown that electric cars can drive as long or sometimes longer than regular petrol cars, I think that we can move forward with the adoption. I am all in.
There you go. Yeah. Interesting that. Yeah, I like that comment. And for Elaine, yeah, I mean, actually, they're not that expensive, these bikes. I was quite impressed on the price of these, but we'll come back to pricing later if that's one of your concerns, if I've understood that right. What say you to this comment here, Dave?
Yeah, really interesting from James, though, because, Mercedes released a car that they said theoretically would do 1,000 kilometers on a single charge.
Wow.
It actually achieved something like 1,200 kilometers. So it actually exceeded what they technically thought it would do. There's lots of things that they've adopted to make sure that efficiency is possible, and a lot of that does come down to aerodynamics.
Yeah.
Which, making a more slippery vehicle is going to improve your range.
Strip out all of the accessories, bare shell or whatever, but still, 800-mile range or whatever that works out to in miles is still pretty impressive for a battery, isn't it? Yeah.
Hugely impressive. Yeah. The charging systems are getting better and better as well. So even with these cars that have big battery packs, most of them are built on 800-volt architecture, and they're charging at 300, 350 kilowatts. So you can get full charges back in less than an hour on these extremely large batteries.
Wow. Yeah, interesting. Gosh, yeah, that's quite significant, isn't it? An hour and then you're back on traveling again.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Is that for bikes as well?
So we've got a couple of bikes that will recharge in around an hour.
Yeah. Okay.
But currently the most premium ones are is that when you have to achieve that kind of thing.
Okay. Yeah. Otherwise you're on a slower charge. I get it. So there's some compromises, and it depends on your use case, I guess. So yeah. Okay. Anything else, Berdin?
Matteo said, excited about the sustainable aspect with the introduction electric cars and also electric bicycles from a public health perspective. Skeptical about the batteries being used though.
Yeah.
But we've touched on the batteries. Elaine said she would need a 3-wheeler as never learned to ride a bike.
Yeah, I mean, I can sympathise with that. I'm deadly on a bike, I think. So yeah, I'll have to have a scooter. I think slow me down a bit. But 125 or 50cc sounds perfectly safe to me. Yeah, I think my wife wouldn't let me get one on the case it might kill me. But I do fancy the idea, I have to say.
The funny thing is, a lot of people's licenses in the UK, if you got your full driving license before Feb 2001, you've normally got
Yeah,
AM rights to ride a moped.
that's right.
A lot of the time, you also have essentially like a full A license. You can ride any engine as long as it's three-wheeled.
Yeah,
Um, so yeah, you can kind of jump on pretty much anything you like
yeah, yeah.
within that limit of having three wheels on it.
Brilliant. Okay, so thank you for that. We'll come on to the rest of the comments in a while. Just to let you know that we've got Get to Know You in 5 slot with Maria Jeffers this morning, and that's coming up at the halfway point, just to let you know. And that's where we just have a quick intermission about halfway. And we've just got a question from Tilly, and we'll come back to those in a moment as well. So keep your questions coming. We'll pick everything up we haven't picked up so far in a while. And yeah, I'm just trying to find another question here. So yeah, that's the one. Okay, so Matt, why should we seriously consider an electric two-wheeled vehicle such as a motorbike or a motorcycle? Tell us a bit more. What are you excited about these things?
Yeah, well, I think there's the environmental aspects. I think is probably one of the biggest drivers for a lot of people, and obviously fuel price increases and that sort of thing. We see a lot of people nowadays who are getting rid of their second car. They'll come to us and say, I'm only going 20 miles to work. It's costing me over £250 a month in fuel.
Yeah.
What are my alternatives? And the thing is, you can jump on even the most expensive ones of our bikes. You can jump on those on finance offers and still be paying less than you'd be paying in fuel. And essentially, you're taking that money that you were just burning off and putting it into an asset.
Yeah.
So it essentially is a depreciating asset. Being realistic, it is going to lose value over time, but
it's saving you money.
The fuel you burn in an internal combustion engine, you'll never get back. So there's definitely the element from that. Even just like clean air, we live in a highly populated country now, so lots of our towns and cities are hugely dense within the centres, and having vehicles running around, pumping out all of the emissions from the exhaust doesn't help us from a long-term health perspective. So even just to have the vehicles around in our big cities that aren't pumping out these gases and allowing us to breathe fresher air is going to be a benefit.
Yeah, and quieter too, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And again, it's a funny thing is a lot of people see the quietness of them as a point, as a negative. But the only reason why I think we necessarily see it that way at the moment is because we're so used to vehicles making a noise that when one comes along that doesn't make a noise, it's so outside of the norm we're not expecting. It kind of throws you off. And certainly in a pedestrianised environment, again, we're kind of predisposed to listen out for things more than we do look in a lot of cases.
Remember the Green Cross Code, folks. Look right, look left, or whichever way around it is. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And the thing is, there's so many people now who walk around with headphones in their ears.
Absolutely, yeah.
They don't necessarily hear a car anyway.
No.
But like you say, once all of those vehicles are electric and everything's quieter, and that ambient noise level reduces, then even electric vehicles are going to become more noticeable again, because all of the noise around you is reduced.
Yeah, and I suppose one of the things you need to get used to is not having a roof over your head. Bertine's father said that she wouldn't allow her to have anything without a roof on it.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, certainly in the UK, you need a good set of weatherproof.
Yeah.
Overalls.
Well, indeed. So there is kit and accessories so to get around that. But yeah, but it's just if that's the one thing you need to get your head around. But actually, you get all the savings as well. Mm-hmm. And in terms of battery tech, where's the future heading, Matt? What's because we talked a lot about batteries this morning and people's concerns about that. Yeah. Where's the future heading?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to tell because there's so many different technologies coming through the ether at the moment.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'm quite open to say that lithium-ion batteries will not be the batteries that we're using probably even in 5 or 10 years' time. There's solid-state batteries. I think it's Vauxhall which have already given a release date for their first solid-state battery vehicle, which I think is 2026, something like that. which is going to be an absolute game changer.
Wow.
Vauxhall and the overriding group have been working very closely with a solid state battery development company for the last, I think, about 10 or 15 years. So that's going to be interesting to see when that comes through.
Yeah.
There's other battery technologies like nuclear diamond batteries.
Cool.
And this is, so there's, different technologies are kind of solving different problems. The solid state stuff is kind of there because you can achieve huge range, which is the biggest benefit of that, but you potentially still got fairly slow charge times.
Okay.
But they might last a lot longer than 2,000 charge cycles that we're currently used to with lithium batteries. You get things like that nuclear diamond battery, which essentially uses carbon-19, which is the byproduct of the nuclear nuclear energy process. Yeah. At the moment, we don't know what to do with it, so we kind of just bury it in a hill and forget
for thousands
of
years. Yeah.
Exactly. But for those nuclear diamond battery cells, they utilize the carbon-19. So there's kind of like a recycling process there to utilize that. And those things, in terms of real-world performance, are similar to lithium-ion, but they'll say they'll last up to close to 30,000 charge cycles before you see that 80% capacity left. So that's a really interesting one. I saw recently about sodium-ion batteries. So rather than using lithium and cobalt, it utilizes sodium, which is abundant in the environment. There's huge amounts of it in the sea. So to be able to farm that kind of atom, instead of using the lithium, that could potentially be a game changer, and it's so much cheaper.
Yeah, so lots of salt around, right? Is sodium salt? Exactly. I guess, is that the same thing?
Yeah, so they're saying that you might see a third of the price of a battery for a sodium ion versus a lithium ion.
Yeah.
So there's lots of things coming through, and I imagine there's even companies out there that we haven't even heard of yet that are producing extremely interesting technologies. There's the other thing is capacitors, supercapacitors.
Oh wow!
Because they can take a huge amount of charge and deplete a huge amount of charge in virtually no time at all.
Wow!
So I know there's another company who are looking to try and utilize the kind of technology that we have in capacitors to be able to then dump huge amounts of charge extremely quickly into a battery cell that can hold it.
Fascinating. Wow!
And I generally believe that we're going to almost fall back into the same scenario that we have now, where you pull up into a forecourt, you charge your car for 2 minutes, and then off you go again with a full tank of charge.
Wow! Yeah, so
it's
there's
a very
the
likely
future.
scenario.
Yeah. So we're heading towards this future, folks. There's nothing going to stop it by the sounds of it. Thanks, Matt. And just to let you know, we've got Maria in the green room waiting for the Get to Know You in 5 slots. So I've got you, Maria, just to let you know. Okay, so quick one then, Matt, just before we come to the Get to Know You in 5 slot. Tell us a little bit about, your own story and your own backstory, a bit about yourself, why you're so passionate about this business case for electric bikes. What's going on for you, Matt? Let's get to know you a little bit.
Okay. I'm industrial design engineer is sort of like my trade name or trade occupation. So I started in engineering probably close to 15 years ago now. I grew up down in Cornwall.
Wow.
Very, very lucky to be down, 2-minute walk from the sea.
Yeah.
So I kind of spent my youth surfing and skating. I used to go snowboarding every winter. Didn't really have any kind of trajectory of what I wanted to do or where I wanted to go. I ended up finding myself in a company that did engineering for but generally seats. They did airport waiting room seating and train station waiting room seating, that sort of thing. I really enjoyed the engineering aspect of that sort of thing. So I kind of progressed up through that business.
Yeah.
And then unfortunately got made redundant in 2008 when the recession hit quite hard.
Yeah.
Ended up then working in a pub and had no idea what I wanted to do with myself. Absolutely hated doing customer service and pouring pints. It was horrible.
It wasn't for you.
No, not for me at all. And then just off a conversation with my dad, who still lived in Swindon at the time, he said, just come up to Swindon. There's a college down the road, and I'll give you whatever support I can. So literally packed my bags the next day, quit my job, went to Swindon. The day after that, got into Swindon College to do a BTEC National Diploma in Engineering.
Wow.
And went through that. And then off the back of that, a local company who approaches Swindon College to look for apprentices came to an open day, and I got talking to them. So they said, okay, well, we'd like to bring you in as an apprentice. We'll pay for your degree.
Wow.
So, I mean, you can't turn that down, really, can you?
Can't turn that down. Absolutely. Sponsored degree.
No.
Whoop, whoop. Yeah.
So I was working for them 4 days a week, and then had a day release to college. So I was essentially Bath University degree, but studying from Swindon, so it's like a satellite college.
Yeah. Of which you've got a first-class honours, by the way.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, first class honours degree. So extremely proud of that.
Well done. So you should be. Yeah, good for
Yeah,
you.
and yeah, it's just sort of like a passion for engineering and manufacturing and design and technology and all of that's kind of stemmed off the back of all of that education and
doesn't that come through?
Yeah. And then sort of the automotive thing has always been a passion of mine. Like I say, I'm a petrol head. I have been since I was a young boy. I love cars and motorbikes and kind of anything that gives you a bit of a thrill from that perspective. So I worked through a few different companies over the years. And then most recent company that I worked for, I was actually going to and from China quite a lot, doing sort of manufacturing process development through their manufacturing facilities in China. Came back to the UK in February 2020, and then of course all hell broke loose.
Yeah.
Got immediately put on furlough, and just off the back of a conversation with some friends, just kind of thinking, what can we do? And I've always wanted to have my own business. I've done a couple of little side things in the past, and we just kind of sort of brainstormed the scenario of, well, electric vehicles are becoming extremely popular, and we completely believe in trying to be as sustainable as possible and making those kind of conscious decisions to be a little bit greener with the way that we live our lives. And the thought of sort of marrying that with high performance vehicles and thinking, why not put electric and motorbike together, because it wasn't something that we'd really seen many people doing.
Yeah.
And I got the chance to go visit a couple of these manufacturers fairly early doors and had a ride on some of their bikes. And
wow.
Yeah, like I said, it was just a game changer for me. They're so smooth and quiet and powerful, and then you've still got all of that environmental benefit off the back of it as well.
Fantastic.
So yeah, just kind of very naturally progressed through while being on furlough. Started the business. We were incorporated in May 2020. I was working part-time for the other company once they finally brought me back. Did a day a week. Building J M Electrobikes, opened the doors in August 2020. Extremely proud moment for me, and had a good couple of months on the run up to Christmas, and then of course all hell broke loose again. And 2021 was a bit of a nightmare for everybody, I think. Obviously back into lockdown, we had to close our showroom. We couldn't have people come to visit us for demos or anything like that. So very much kind of scaled everything back. And just sort of went into survival mode for 2021, and then kind of from about October last year up to now, it has just been progression, growth through the market.
Fantastic.
Electric motorbikes generally are growing by about 300% year on year.
Yeah.
And the market share has gone from, I think it was about 3% when we first started the business. I think we're around 7 or 8% of the market share is electric motorbikes at the moment.
Amazing.
So there's lots of people seeing the benefits of it.
What a game changer.
We're only at 8%, means we've got a huge amount of growth still to go. So
yeah, what an exciting journey. Fantastic. And Cecile says this, hi Matt, the redundancy was your life-changing platform, a good universal gift to have. Follow your dad's invite too. How about that? Lovely. Very nicely said, Cecile. Lovely. And yeah, smack on. And yeah, round of applause to you, my friend. That's great story. Thank you for that. So listen, we're just going to put you on pause for a minute. We're going to go for the get to know you in 5 slot now, which is just an intermission period where we just speak to somebody who's a regular on the show, and just a chance for us to get to know them a little bit more. And we've got the lovely Maria in with us today on the Get to Know You in 5 slot, the Your DMS Get to Know You in 5 slot. So let me just play the jingle very quickly. So here we go. So we're just going to give you a quick break for a minute. Okay, here we go. There we go. So yeah, that's let's just bring up the slide just to see whether we are here. And there's Maria Jeffers. How you doing, Maria?
Hello.
Hello. Fantastic to have you on the show again on the Get to Know You in 5 slot. Just very quickly, just before we begin, just a bit about our sponsors, Your DMS, our specialists in document management solutions with over 20 years of experience in the document management DM industry. And Your DMS, they say that their knowledge and ability to translate and deliver technology to simplify the way organisations work has been proven, folks, and effective time and time again. So as we make businesses more efficient, we can also save time and money and enhance engagement with customers and suppliers for you. So that's a little bit about Your DMS. And now we've got the fantastic Maria in the room. How are you doing, Maria?
Hiya there. Can you hear me okay? I'm not actually plugged in, should I?
No, you're fine. We can hear you okay. Can we all hear you okay? Yeah,
That's fine.
Oh, that's better. I sound like a bit echoey to myself then with those in.
It's probably the room that you're in.
Yes, it probably is, yeah.
No problem.
Nice to see you all.
Nice to see you. Thanks for coming on. And
No, it's great. Thank you.
You could say a quick hello to Matt as well while he's...
Yes, hi Matt. You okay? It's really interesting. Yeah, it's really educated me because like many, I'm thinking, oh, is this just an alternative? And the batteries aren't good for the environment either. But it sounds like it's really heading in the right direction and that they can be reused. You know, you've helped me understand a lot more.
Good. Well, I'm glad. Thanks for that. It's nice to try and get a little bit of education across.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, Matt tells a story really well, doesn't he? So thanks. So Maria, groovy to have you on the show, my friend. Albeit very briefly, we're honoured.
Yeah.
So, you're the founder, Maria, of MJ Consulting. It's a brand new coaching business, folks.
Yay! I've started.
Well done.
Coaching now. Woo-hoo.
Tell us a bit more, and what ways that we listening can help you with this live stream. How can we directly help you as well? So tell us a bit more.
Well, I mean, I've spent so long in my past. I've got a corporate background, and I've spent so long talking about psychometrics with clients, helping them use them. And really, I think my passion, rather than I know we all have to be into business development, but my passion is growth and growth in people. So that's my own personal self-growth and other people's. I really want to help people get to know themselves better and really understand themselves before you can begin to understand or try to understand other people. So that's my real passion. And now, I want to actually directly be delivering this. I want to help people. You know, it had a profound impact on my life, really looking inward. And now I hope to help others.
So how can we help you then, Maria?
Well, I guess it is just, Andrew, you're helping me just by inviting me on this show, allowing me to, I guess, practice what I'm talking, the things that I'm talking about, my passion. I would just say if anything I say resonates with anyone, or there's someone in your team that you're thinking, actually, they seem a bit stuck, or they've seen not themselves. Often you can be working alongside people and they're literally about to throw it all in. They're about to quit. They are inside drowning in some way, and it's only in their own mind. It's not necessarily real, but it's the reality they've created for themselves inside. So I can really help people and challenge people's own thoughts, and hopefully allow them to come up with their own answers and think, actually, this is the route I want to take. And hopefully that is maybe to stay where they are and carry on doing what they're doing. They've just hit a bit of a wall sometimes.
Yeah, a road bump or a speed bump, using the analogy of being on the road. Did you like those? What I just did there?
Yes, like that.
So Matthias just gives you a bit of love here. That is a wonderful mission, Maria Jeffers. So there we go. Yeah. So Maria, although this is a new company, folks, Maria comes back with years of management experience from being the head of business development at AQR and BDM at SHL, which is a famous company in itself for profiling and stuff and other bits and pieces and training in the corporate world, as well as other experience, including being a mental toughness expert too. And in fact, That's what Maria talked about when she was last on the show.
Yes.
We talked about mental
Yeah.
toughness, didn't we? So yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. And I can still use those assessments as part of my coaching. Is what I can definitely use. Yeah.
Totally. And how useful are those? I use them in my own coaching business. And
Yeah.
Maria, that was because of you. So thank you very much for helping me out with that. So yeah, it's been really useful, the mental toughness questionnaire process.
Yeah.
And for those of you that want to do that and will find that really useful to get a score on your mental toughness, it's a measure of that. It's fantastic. It's really great. I really highly recommend it. So Maria, we've got a quick fire 5.
Yep.
Hanson, get to know you in 5. Quick fire questions for you. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, so quick drum roll.
I had to really think.
Yeah, okay, so here we go then. So what 3 words would you use to describe your leadership style then, Maria?
Okay, well, I'd like to think inspirational.
Yeah.
I would say determined,
Yeah.
task focused.
Yeah, you're definitely an achiever, aren't you? Yes, definitely. And I would say another strength of yours as well, just adding to that list, so we've got 4 now, is empathy. And you know, you're very good at reading people and, you know, working with them. And that task orientation of yours gets things done quickly for people. And that's really appreciated, Maria. So put all those together and, you know, you've got something fantastic there. Okay. Yeah, you're welcome. So what superpower helps you to do what you do then?
Right. Well, I feel like in the last 4 years, I've embraced fear. I really embrace my fear now. I walk into it. It used to paralyze me. So, you know, Andrew, I'm into my show jumping. So for the last 3-4 years, I've got into show jumping, and I literally used to go into the ring and I don't know how my body worked. I actually just don't know how I got round the course. It was like I went into a blur. Now I can actually I've lent into the fear so much I can think. So in the moment, I can actually think about what I'm going to do next, as opposed to it all just happening.
It's been a blur. Yeah.
It used to be horrendous. I'd think, why am I doing this? I'd be shaking. I'd just feel sick. And now I'm actually able, I can't believe it, I'm able to go in and function and think. So for me, that's massive. And that then transfers to so many other things. You know, take me off the horse and put me in a situation like this, or presenting to others, or working with people. Your own fear can just stop you and paralyze you. And I've just really learned how to feel it, and it's okay. And it's not as bad as we think.
That's brilliant. I love that. And yeah, just coming to Matt to join Matt in the conversation on this one. So, you know, feel the fear and do it anyway. You've just set up a new business, J M, you know, Electrobikes, you know, over the last couple of years during a pandemic. You know, what was the fear factors like for you, Matt, you know, when you were doing that?
Yeah, do you know what? It's kind of weird because it was it felt like a very natural progression for me going through that whole process. And I think, you know, I'm very lucky that I've got a good support network around me. Sorry if you can hear the lorry moving around.
That's because it's not electric, right? So you could hear that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like I say, I'm lucky to have a good support network around me. My partner or future wife within the next 4 weeks.
Yeah, it's getting married soon. Yeah.
Very soon, yeah. That's probably giving me more fit now.
There you go, Maria. You can help him out with his fear factors there. So,
Yeah.
so useful to have people around you as well, Maria. And I know that you've got a great
Yeah.
support network around you. So has that been helpful for you as well, Maria?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. People, I like you say, sometimes it's just one question someone asks you and you think, oh, yeah, it's just a different perspective. It's just you start to challenge yourself then. So, yeah, definitely.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Lovely. Yeah. So what's on your bucket list then, Maria?
Well, you really got me thinking here. I think I'm so in the moment of what I'm doing all the time. It's got to be something to do with horses, hasn't it?
Oh.
So I'm thinking, I remember someone's connected with me on LinkedIn who's in India, and they offer these holidays where you get on a horse and you go on a 5-day trek across the plains of India. And so I'm thinking, yeah, in the future, me and my daughter, she's only 10 at the minute, but maybe when she's about 18, we could go off and do something like that together. That would be amazing.
Wouldn't that be fantastic? Yeah. And
Yeah.
the batteries don't run out, do they? You just leave hang, right?
Yeah, they need to sleep though.
Oh, good point. Yeah. Yeah. Out of interest, Matt, what's on your bucket list, just out of interest?
Oh God, I don't know.
Yeah, I'll put you on the spot now, haven't I?
Got me thinking.
Yeah. Getting married, that's what it is, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I've always wanted to do sort of like a mini tour of of as many countries as I could possibly fit in. You see a lot of people doing this like van life.
Oh yeah,
Where they just kind of sell up everything, convert a van, and just go and tour
I know
around
someone
the world.
doing that. Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah,
Yeah, would that be
I'd
an
love to
electric van?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, in the future. Yeah. I mean, I'm going to probably be in my 50s or 60s by the time I get the opportunity to slow down enough to do that.
Yeah, well, that's time to come. That's still on your bucket list, right? Yeah, okay, thanks, Matt. So, favourite band? Come on then, Maria.
Okay, well, I grew up with loads of music. I love Fleetwood Mac.
Yeah.
I love, I used to listen to Genesis. I like The Killers at the moment.
The
They've got
Killers?
some great stuff.
Okie
Yeah.
dokie.
The Police. Love
The
listening
Police.
to The Police,
Oh, there's an old
quite
band.
old-fashioned stuff, really.
Yeah.
I'm not very up to date with music. I love music, but now I turn on the radio and I'm like,
Who's that?
My kids tell me who it is. I don't know who it is.
So, what's your favourite band, Matt?
Oh, that's a hard one at the moment. I mean, the Killers are, a favourite from when I was younger. I suppose one that I kind of always go back to is Kings of Leon.
Of course, yeah.
They've got 6 different albums that I could quite happily listen to every single song on. So, I'd say Kings of Leon.
Kings of Leon, brilliant. And Matteo says, Police are brilliant. And Joe says, Fleetwood Mac. Whoop, whoop, Stevie Nicks. There we go. Yeah, and Maria just says, well done. Challenging our own fear is definitely a personal growth and achieving strength and confidence within ourselves. Whoop, whoop. So there we go.
Yes,
So last question. 3 top business or leadership tips for us.
Yeah. Okay. I would say be as self-aware as you possibly can. Really get to know yourself, know, a good and bad, just understand. Well, when I say good and bad, that's maybe the wrong way of putting it, but just really get to know yourself. Sometimes we think we don't like other people, and what we don't like is something we see about ourselves.
Yeah.
Really interesting. The
Know
traits
yourself.
we can notice in people is because we recognise it in ourselves and we don't like it about ourselves. So it's just interesting. So I'd say really, really get to know yourself. Don't take anything personally. Good and bad. So if someone says wonderful things to you, it can really stroke your ego, make you feel great. But it's usually a reflection of how they are feeling, not necessarily about you. It's how they feel. And again, if someone's not very nice to you, it's a reflection how they feel, not you. So don't take. So that's been a game changer for me. Stop taking things personally, and don't assume anything. And I'm always, it's so easy to jump in and assume things, but people's reality is so different from our own that we assume that people are seeing things in the same way as we are. And it's just not. None of us are. We're all living our own little reality. So
Or living on our own bubbles. Yeah.
They're my 3 things.
Thank you, Maria. So, know yourself. Don't take things personally. Bust those assumptions as you're going along. Maria, that was brilliant. Yeah, thank you. So great to have you on the show again.
Thank you.
Yeah,
it's been great doing you.
Yeah, we're going to say goodbye to you now. And thanks for all the love in the room
I'll
for
keep
Maria
watching.
as well. Cheers. Thanks, Maria.
See you later. Thank
Cheers
you.
for now.
Bye.
Cheers. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Lovely. So there we go. So back to Matt again. We hope you enjoyed that little interesting and useful sidebar. And there's still quite a bit of going on in the room about various Coldplay and Kings of Leon and all of those things. And Paul Steed says this, I think is great advice. My advice to all you youngsters, do not wait to start your bucket list. Time moves on faster than you think. Yeah, there you go. There's a sage advice from our Paul. Nice to see you again in the room, Paul. Brilliant. Okay, so back to you again, Matt. So, where do you see the electric future heading, Mike? I know we talked a little bit about battery tech, but what else is the bright future for electric?
Well, I think it's obviously going to become a lot more mainstream. It's going to be interesting to see what kind of happens over the next sort of 5 to 10 years with internal combustion engines being pushed to the side and seeing what kind of other technologies come forward. From my perspective, obviously I'm invested in electric,
of course,
and the way that technology is kind of moving forward at this point in time. But it doesn't necessarily mean that there isn't going to be something that comes out of another development. There's companies all over the place doing interesting development on different technologies. So who knows what's going to happen in the future? But certainly for now, electric seems like it is our best option. Certainly from a sort of kind of domestic perspective, I suppose. I think on the commercial side, hydrogen might be something that that comes in and becomes a little bit more usable from that perspective. There's even talk of nuclear generation, having these small nuclear power plants that generate your electricity while you're on the move. They already do it in nuclear submarines. They have their own nuclear reactor on board, which provides them with all of the energy and electricity they need. And to be able to downsize that would be an interesting.
Yeah, put it in a box and shove it underneath you on a motorbike, and presumably make it very safe as well.
Yeah, so who knows what's going to happen? But I mean, certainly from an electric perspective, technology is moving forward so quickly.
Yeah.
And I suppose one of the other things to say is that a lot of people think, I'm not going to buy in now because the technology is going to develop in the next few years, so I'm going to wait until it improves. The thing is, technology always moves forward. And even in 5 years' time, you're probably going to be sat there thinking, I don't want to buy in now because I'm going to wait for the technology to move forward again. It's been the same for mobile phones and laptops and even current car technology. You buy a car 1 year and then the next year the new model's got sat nav, and then you go to buy the one with sat nav, and then the next model's got radar guided cruise control.
Wow.
There's always going to be a development coming. So don't give yourself the excuse of I'm going to wait.
Yeah,
if you want to switch, make the switch. Yeah.
And we'll come to costs in a moment when we look at your motorbikes in detail in a short while. And they're much better than you think. I was really surprised, and it's like, wow, that's a game changer just even in cost, because they are a fraction of the cost of a motor car. And just a few £1,000s will get you a bike, right? So anywhere between £2,000 and £5,000 for a basic, for a decent bike, and of course you can pay an awful lot more for the high end. But
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. No, generally, between £2,000 and £5,000 will get you sort of a 50 or 125cc equivalent.
Yeah.
And then there's this really weird gap between £5,000 and £13,000 where there's nothing. And then you get the high-end premium bikes.
High-end premium bikes, yeah. And interestingly, a pedal bike, an all-electric pedal bike, will cost you about £3,000 or more even. So, the comparable costs even to just, pedal bikes, so electric pedal bikes. That's really interesting. That got me thinking. And we'll come on to that in a while. Look, folks, it's time for you to ask some questions as well from the audience. So if you've got any questions of Matt, and, we've been marching through this whole thing about electro bikes and motorcycles and motorbikes and things. Look, if you've got any questions that you want to ask Matt, please do so in the chat. I'll pick up what we've got already, and I'm going to come back to Birdie and put her on the spot in a minute. Kind of say, okay, Birdie, what have we got in the chat so far on questions? Because I think there was a couple of questions earlier on.
There was a couple of questions, but you're really putting me on the spot here. Thank you, Andrew.
I think there was one from Tilly. I think let's just.
I know.
Yeah.
There was one from Tilly, but there was more. Here's one. So Laurie asks, what happens when 50% of the population owns an electric vehicle?
Oh, there we go.
And it's based on the electricity usage and the impact of the existing grid as well.
Well, the roads be quieter, we get less pollution, I guess.
Yeah, it's an interesting one though, because energy is, it's not going to support us all of the time.
Yeah.
There's the classic thing of during TV breaks when all of the people in the UK used to switch their kettles on, and there'd be a huge spike in electricity use. Obviously, electric vehicles are going to be using a lot more energy than that. But there's technologies moving forward for things like vehicle to grid. So essentially, what that future will look like is we'll have people charging their cars during the night when everyone's asleep and electricity usage is extremely low. They'll be trickle charging those battery packs. And then what you can do with the vehicle to grid is essentially, if you've got an electric car sat on the driveway and you've got 100 kilowatt hours of capacity there, what they're essentially saying is for people who aren't using their vehicles during the day, they'll use vehicle to grid. So all of that energy that they stored overnight when people weren't using, it goes back into the grid and helps balance.
How good is that? Like that.
So there's lots of things coming through.
Solar power.
Sorry, say again.
So a bit like solar power panels can give electricity back into the grid, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay,
so solar power technology is I mean, I think it's going to become a lot more popular over the next couple of years with the way that energy prices are going.
Yeah.
You know, I spoke to a guy who installed solar panels a couple of weeks ago, who said that his interest level has just peaked to beyond the point where he thought it would, purely because people are looking for ways to generate more sustainable energy and less reliance on the grid.
Yeah.
So with that kind of technology becoming more popular, that technology will become cheaper, it'll become available to more people, it's going to become more efficient. So, you know, there's lots of things that are going to help balance that need for electricity. So that there generally shouldn't be any problems to be able to support that huge increase in electric vehicle usage.
Yeah. Okay. So it won't break the grid. Basically, you know, there'll be and it's growing slowly, which means that the whole infrastructure can grow with it, I guess.
Yeah.
And
the other really interesting thing that I learned a little while back was the pumping process to get crude oil out of the ground. If for each and every pump that is around the world, and there's millions of these things, you could run 22,000 electric vehicles by just closing down one pump.
yeah.
So, you know, which is just ridiculous. You think about the infrastructure that we have currently in place and the amount of electricity that uses, like I say, pumping oil, refining oil, pumping it from the ground, but then also pumping refined oil from one place to another in, you know, over or underland piping. All of that electricity can potentially then just be reallocated to run directly into an electric vehicle. So
Really
again,
interesting.
that's another thing that helps.
Lots of things changing. Yeah. Thanks, Matt. Brilliant. Berdine.
Graham Rose had quite an interesting statement / question. Why don't manufacturers agree on a few standard batteries to avoid waste?
Oh, interesting question. Right.
Yeah, there's a few people. I mean, certainly from a motorbike perspective in the Asian market, there's a number of different manufacturers that have created a partnership essentially for swappable batteries.
Yeah.
So I think it's like Yamaha, Piaggio. There's a few of them in this little bucket of generating swappable batteries. But that works really well in the Asian markets because there are so many scooters and motorbikes in their big cities. So they have these swappable batteries where you basically just pull up to a big wall of batteries. You take your batteries out, put them in a hole to recharge, and then take a fresh one out and off you go.
Oh, brilliant idea. Yeah, love
So
that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
That's
and
clever.
that works really, really well in really big, highly populated, sort of dense environments.
What a brilliant idea. That's fantastic. Yeah, I love that idea.
Yeah, but I think the trouble with manufacturers trying to agree on standardized batteries is the fact that everyone is trying to be or trying to develop the next big technology.
Yeah.
So everyone, everything's quite, they want to keep their own technology to themselves. They want to be the ones that have the biggest advancements in range and charge times and that sort of thing. So it's quite difficult for them to come to any kind of agreement. But I'm sure at some point, someone's going to create the thing that kind of redefines what it is, and then everyone will jump on board and it will standardize from there onwards.
Yeah, that sounds like things are changing massively around the world. And Jonas has just teased us a little bit here. So now you just need some sun in the UK in order to use solar panels. Absolutely.
That's good. Yeah.
Yeah. What else, Berdine? So we need to wrap up soon. But where are we going?
Tilly asked, what is the risk of actually riding an electric motorcycle? Would you say they are minimized or still the same as manual ones?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there's always risks. Riding motorbikes, you are more vulnerable. As Berdine's dad has quite clearly made aware to her.
Yes.
Yeah, there's a lot of people who will say that because you're quiet, you're even more vulnerable.
Yeah.
But honestly, when you're out in your car, take a mental note of how many times you see your motorbike before you hear it. And I guarantee it will be by far the majority of time you will always see a motorbike before you hear it.
Yeah, you see it in the rearview mirror, for example. Yeah.
Yeah, and the way that technology in cars has moved on so much that the sound deadening, you've got cars with triple glazing, some of them, and you can't hear anything outside of your own cockpit. So even motorbikes that have extremely loud exhausts on them, you won't hear them coming anyway. And there was actually a study done by a company in France where they placed just a normal family car in different positions with respect to a motorbike's approach, and measured the decibels within inside the cabin to see, like, realistically, is there actually an advantage of having a big loud exhaust on your bike? And essentially the conclusion was that the only time you hear a bike more is when it's in front of you and the exhaust is pointing directly at your face.
Of course, yes.
When it's approaching from behind, you just don't hear it.
Yeah, so there you go. Yeah, fantastic. And there's a few more questions, but this looks quite interesting from Cecile. Does owning an electric vehicle reduce breakdowns and repairs? Oh.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, servicing and maintenance on these things is probably one of the nicest things about them. That very little of them have any kind of oil or coolant. There's a couple of models which have like a small reduction gearbox just to increase the torque to the rear wheel. So there's like 150 millilitres of gear oil in there. But a lot of the bikes are direct drive from a motor, so there's no gear oil to worry about. There's no coolant to worry about.
Yeah.
There's no spark plugs, and there's certainly no carburetors, and all of the difficulties that you have for internal combustion.
Yeah.
Extremely easy, simple, and even if something does go wrong, the fault diagnosis process for us is so easy.
Yeah.
We can plug a computer in; it will tell us exactly what a fault might be, and the majority of the time, there's only 3 potential areas where it could have gone wrong. It's the motor, it's the battery, or it's the controller.
Yeah.
And most of these bikes are coming with good amounts of warranty now. So even if any one of those things does go wrong, it's changed under warranty. And it only takes us a couple of hours to swap a battery or a controller or a motor. It's not a huge problem.
So simple. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
MOTs go down. Yeah. Services go down. Everything.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you, Matt. Matt, let's just get onto your calls for actions now. Let's go through some of your ranges here. We've got a few of these bikes now. Talk us through some of these, Matt, very quickly, because we're coming to the end of the show now. So
So you've got the Super Soco CPX there.
Yeah.
That one is very much aimed at delivery companies, couriers,
brilliant.
final mile kind of fleet market. So those, it's got a dual battery system. People will normally buy them with 2 batteries. They'll have one that's sat in their restaurant or depot, wherever it might be, on charge. The other one's in the bike being used, and then essentially you've got perpetual energy. Because as soon as you deplete one battery, you just switch over to the other battery and off you go again. So that's a really interesting idea. From a fleet perspective.
Yeah.
And then you've got the Artisan EV2000 there, which is essentially a Vespa recreation.
Brilliant.
Gives you all of the nostalgia of the 60s and the modern kind of era, but with 0 emissions.
There you go.
So that's a really popular, really beautiful bike.
And it looks gorgeous, and 20 to 40 miles urban traffic, which isn't bad for getting back into from work. And look at the prices, folks. For the first one there, for the delivery one, 3,500. For this one, 2,600. Pretty low prices, I think. So, and then we go into these more. This one on this Horwin looks amazing. Looks like a Harley.
Yeah, Horwin's a fairly new company. Well, I say they're not a new company. They've been developing electric drivetrains and battery and motor systems for a couple of decades, but they're new into actually creating their own branded vehicles. But they're extremely high quality, really, really well put together. Horwin is an Austrian-based design and development house, essentially, with the products actually manufactured in China. And Horwin CR6 gives you all of the style, sort of cafe racer kind of looks to it. It's got some nice classic lines. So if you like your traditional bikes, then that kind of ticks all of the boxes for that. And then again, EK3, really popular commuter bike, also used for fleet markets. Really, really good quality, high power motors, good capacity for. Sorry, my voice is going out.
Yeah, no problem.
Good capacity for range and charge times as well.
Yeah, and reasonable speeds as well on these, and all for less than $5,000, and those are fantastic. Now we get into the kind of some more. You've got some more scooters here.
Yep, well, CPX we already spoke about.
Yeah. I've got that twice. Apologies.
Yeah. CUX is one of our sort of 28 mile an hour mopeds. Really small, really light. extremely affordable, perfect. So you can ride that at the age of 16 on the CBT.
Yeah.
So if you you want to get your child to and from college, easy, efficient, cheap,
Yeah.
perfect for that sort of thing. Again, removable battery as well. So we have quite a few people who buy these to go to college or university, and those colleges and universities are really happy for them to take the batteries inside, charge their bikes while they're studying, and you've got a full charge for the way home.
Brilliant. And for
and again,
$2,500. Yeah.
Exactly, and works the same for people who are going to work.
Yeah.
To charge them at work if your employer is happy to let you do that, and then your commuting costs are massively reduced again.
Yeah, want one of those. Lovely. And then these ones here, these are nice looking, sexy bikes. Look at these.
Yeah, TC Max, by far our best selling bike.
Yeah.
It's the perfect balance of speed, charge time, price. You've still got removable battery in there as well. So for people who want to maintain that kind of motorbike style, but like we said before, if you live in flats or terraced house, or you can't charge at home at all, but you can charge at work, then having that removable battery is a big benefit. And you've still got 60-mile-an-hour top speed, so town city use as well as a bit of B road, town to town kind of hop. It can do all of that. So yeah, by far our best selling bike.
Yeah.
And then the zeros are kind of when you're jumping up into the more premium bracket.
Yeah.
The most ridiculous thing about this is there's a bit of a loophole in the law. So you're allowed up to 11 kilowatts of in electric, what they call continuous power. And in the world of petrol, you're allowed up to 11 kilowatts or 14 brake horsepower of peak power. So for electric, and for this Zero S is a perfect example of this. The Zero S is an 11 kilowatt CBT legal, so learner legal bike.
Yeah.
But it's got 59 horsepower of peak power.
Wow.
So we're riding a 500.
Yeah.
It's absolutely nuts how powerful this thing is, considering that you can ride it at the age of 17 with no riding experience at all.
Wow.
And obviously there's a moral perspective to be drawn into that from our perspective as the person selling these bikes, because if we had a 17-year-old with no riding experience approach us and drop 16 grand on our table, I don't think I'd sell them the bike. I'd say jump on a TC Max, have a bit of experience for a year or two, and then come back to me and buy a Zero.
They're good. I like that.
Lovely. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. And then finally, just great advice, says Paul. Sorry, no, I'm missing out on that. Sorry, excuse me. So Zero SR and Zero SRS.
Yeah, no, we're really in the passion end of the market here.
Yeah.
This is a heart over head decision in a lot of cases for these kind of bikes. The power is ridiculous. The range is incredible on these things. If you spec these with the biggest battery, you'll get over 200 miles of urban range. Wow. You'll be doing sort of 140, 150 miles of kind of B road, kind of touring, kind of riding. But you can also opt for a bigger charger as well, so you can recharge these in about an hour.
Gosh.
So you can ride 120, 130 miles, pull over for an hour to have a coffee and a spot of lunch, and then do another 120, 130 miles of riding.
And check the top speed out. 124 miles an hour.
Yeah, and it'll get you there in under 7 seconds. It's
0 to 60. Or 0 to 124 in less than 7 seconds. Wow. That's pretty impressive, Matt. That's brilliant. Thank you ever so much for highlighting that. And as a Leaders Live option, if you're thinking about buying one of these, the prices remain the same, but you've got an offer on some free accessories. Is that right? What's the code we need to quote, Matt?
Yeah, so if you quote Leaders22,
Leaders22,
when you get in contact with us, and you get £150 worth of free accessories. That might be top boxes, windscreen, handguards, any of that sort of thing, and an additional charger. Little benefit for anyone out there who's considering one of these.
Brilliant. Yeah, thank you for that. And if Birding could just put that in the chat, Leaders22 for £150 worth of accessories if you buy through. If you quote that Leaders Live discount charge. Thank you for that. Brilliant. There it is. So listen, I know Birding's got to go in a minute because she's got another meeting. And we've just gone on a little bit today, but I think it's just been worth it because Matt has just been so engaging, hasn't he? So I hope you've really enjoyed today. The goose for next week, by the way, before we say thank you to Matt, is we've got the same show Tuesday 13th of September at 8:45 a.m. UK time, and we'll be hanging out with Jamie Radford talking all about his experience of building a successful online community, and we can't wait for that. Ooh, this and a whole lot more, so be there or be square. So we're still waiting for some more information from Jamie on that, but that's essentially where we're heading. I hope you've enjoyed today's show, Matt. I hope you are listening have enjoyed it too. It's been great having you on the show about this extraordinary conversation this morning about all things electric bikes and motorcycles. Thank you.
Thank you very much for having me. It's been great.
You're very welcome. We'd love to have you on again. I just think that was just fantastic. So thanks again. We're going to cut it there. And for those of you that joined the backstage rowdies, apologies that didn't quite work out. I'll figure that out next time. So please join us again. Thank you for bearing with us on technical hitches. I think I understand what's gone on with that now that I've had a bit of time to think about it. So yeah, watch this space, and we'll see you next week. And it's a wrap from us. I'm just trying to find the wrap. There we go. So thanks very much, everybody. We'll just wave goodbye to you now. Thanks again, Matt, for a brilliant conversation. I hope you all enjoyed that. Thanks again, Berdine. I know you've got a scoot. So yeah, we're on the road now for the rest of the week. Enjoy yourselves in the all-electric world that's coming up. Cheers for now. Bye-bye.